Hello and welcome to Otterwood Cottage, where we're building our dream smallholding in the heart of the Lincolnshire countryside. I'm Emma and we're delighted to have you along with us. Well, we're at the start of half-term week. Today is Sunday. I'm very out of sorts because of the clocks going back last night, so I'm very confused about what time it is and what we should be doing and when. But once I get my head around that, I do have a slightly quieter week on the work front than normal, which means I'm going to have a couple of extra hours each day to be able to crack on with some jobs on the smallholding that I have been looking forward to getting done in half term. My year is very much punctuated by those kind of traditional school holiday periods where we manage through the term time when we're really busy, and then the half terms and the school holidays give us a chance to get some of those bigger jobs done. And we've been blessed with absolutely glorious weather today, and it's set to be fairly decent for most of the week, I think. So we did have a very light frost on the ground this morning, but it doesn't seem, thankfully, to have impacted anything in here or outside. I took a quick look around before I got the camera out this morning, and nothing seems to have been damaged, so it must have been a very light frost indeed. The weather is showing no sign of even close to frosts for the next couple of weeks, but as you know, in the spring, at the beginning of the growing season, we got caught out by, we clearly have a microclimate here that the forecast doesn't quite accurately reflect. So we are keeping a close eye on that, but we're pretty well placed. There's not a huge amount now in terms of harvests that we would lose if a frost came. The main thing in here that I would be concerned around are peppers, but I'm just going to have to take that risk because there's not a lot else I can do other than hope, particularly these Amy Sweetwax that I showed on last week's video. They are still very yellow, starting to blush at the bottom, but I'm concerned they're not going to have enough time to ripen. But let's see, we'll keep everything in here till the very last minute until it is either damaged by frost or has died back from something else. We're just going to keep everything going. So the beginning of half term, and that means I have 7 days to do some slightly bigger jobs, and I've written down 7 jobs that I'm going to try and achieve across the week. And when I did my sharing with you of what I hope to achieve in August, that worked really well, and I did manage to tick off nearly everything on that list. So I thought I would do that again today, and hopefully I'm going to bring a few more videos to you this week because I'll have a little bit more time. And the plan is, although plans are there to be adapted, the plan is to try and get 7 videos across the week, each one showing you one of these 7 jobs being completed. So throughout the week, there's actually 8 jobs, because throughout the week I want to be harvesting and saving seed where appropriate. I've done most of my tomato seed saving now. I would like to save some seed from the orange banana. That's the only one I haven't finished. There's still some beans on the plant that are drying. We're collecting those as they dry, as you know. Which is a form of seed saving, although we'll also be eating some of those. And I think that's probably it for seed saving. I had thought about saving some of the seeds from the peppers. I've been very generously sent some peppers by Ali. I do still have some seeds left over that I think should be quite good to germinate, and I do want to concentrate on some sweet peppers next year, and so I think I will buy in some different varieties. And I've also read that peppers are particularly susceptible to crossing, and so I think what I'll probably do is go for new varieties next year, and maybe figure out next year which ones we really like, and then the year after isolate the ones that we like most. Maybe do one variety in here and one in the greenhouse, which will hopefully be built in 2 years' time, to try and keep those seeds true to type for a couple of varieties that we really like. So the 7 jobs I'm going to bring to you this week, not necessarily in order, because I'm going to keep an eye on the weather and do the job that's most appropriate for the weather on the day, I want to have a good sort through my seeds, sort through the seeds that I've very generously been sent by Ali, make sure that my system is reordered, and place a seed order for anything that's missing. So a big sort out of the seeds, a good planning session for what I want to make sure I'm growing next year, and getting that order in now. ready for when the planting season starts, because for us there will be some planting that continues to happen over the autumn and into the winter, and then of course our main crop, our main season planting starts right on the 1st of January, which is when we plant our pepper seeds. The second thing I am going to try and achieve this week is to collect a big bunch of the manure that our neighbour has very kindly offered for us to collect, and get that loaded up into the back of the car, brought down their drive, brought up our drive, and stored somewhere here on the property, ready to use on the plot. Some of it is already well rotted, some of it's quite fresh, so we'll be using it in slightly different ways, but that's going to be quite a big job going up and down. We've only got a car, we don't have any other kind of form of transport, so we'll be going up and down to them quite a few times when they are ready for us to head up to their house. Number 3, I want to build some new beds, and some of that manure will be used for that purpose. So both in here in the veg plot, I want to extend out the beds that we've already built, and I also am planning to plant a fairly large bed area with crops that will be suitable for future livestock coming to the property. Now that isn't going to be protected from rabbits, so I'm going to have to think about covering those, but I do have quite a lot of cover, and I might use the technique that we used at the beginning of the spring before we put the electric fencing around this plot, which was to use the really spiky branches from the hawthorns to kind of protect the young seedlings. So a big bed of winter growing crops going over in the area kind of at the edge of the woodland before you get to the hedge that separates off the chicken area. So another big bed going in over there. Number 4 is to clear and mulch all of the old beds, or clear as far as possible. Again, that's going to be really dependent on just how much I get cleared, because so much is still growing and doing well. Lots of the flowers, for example, are not dying back, and I don't want to take them out when they're not ready to be taken out. So I might have to mulch around some things, but that's fine. Have a good tidy up of those beds, get those mulched, ready for the new season. Winter planting is another big job, so I have been putting off planting the brassicas and the salads that are still, bless them, little tiny stunted seedlings that are sitting in the brassica cage, which I haven't looked at because I've been away all week and possibly have drowned. So I'm very much hoping, we'll go and look at those together in a minute, I'm very much hoping they have survived this week where we've had quite a lot of rain. They are sitting in a tray, in seed trays. So they may have drowned where I've been away, but we'll go and check that out. If they haven't, I want to get those planted out, as well as our garlic for this year. I'm feeling like I'm quite behind on the garlic, although I think last year I was later as well, maybe into November, and they did fine. But we're going to go through our garlic stock, pick the largest and the best looking of those, and get those planted out one day this week. I need to finish off the tree inventory. So when our friends came to visit, they very kindly helped us, and we got through about half of the tree inventory. So I've still got another half of that woodland inventory to do. It's not looking great, to be honest. We have not had fantastic survival rates. So we're going to need to go back to the Woodland Trust and see what the next steps are once we have finished that inventory. But I really do want to get that done whilst there are still some leaves on the trees, so that I can identify what we have got. It becomes very difficult to identify them because they're just whips if they haven't got any leaves on. It's tough enough, to be honest, with the leaves on them. And then finally, and this is the one that is probably a little bit ambitious in the time I have realistically this week, but I would really like to get at least started on building the compost bay system, which I have talked about for about a year with you and haven't started doing. We do now have enough pallets to start to build that. I have got the workshop set up well enough to be able to help me to cut that wood and get it ready. I need to find my pallet buster, but we've got one of those somewhere which helps us to take the pallets apart. So I'm not going to say I'm going to complete it, but I want to make a start on the compost bay. So they're the 8 jobs, 7 major jobs, and 1 the harvesting and seed saving, which will happen intermittently across the week. So what do you reckon? Can we get through those in a week? I think we can together. You're going to help me by holding me to account, and I'm going to keep sharing with you so you can see how we're doing. So before I start with doing some harvesting from in here, let's go and check out whether those little seedlings have survived in the brassica cage. Come on. Just quickly, before I do that, while I have been away all week, Mr. H and Wilkes have been doing a fantastic job of strimming and mowing. All of this was so overgrown. There was an enormous thistle about that high on that side of the polytunnel. And as part of the work to get all the electric fencing up and running properly, look at all that mowing and strimming they've been doing. It's fantastic. They've done such an amazing job. And look at the brightness of that day. It's beautiful. Nearly the end of October, and we're still enjoying this wonderful weather. Right, let's head over to the brassica cage. Alright, so they are just about holding on. Look, these are looking exceptionally sad. They may not make it. The broccoli is starting to yellow. Really need to get these in the ground. And these salads have just been amazing. I mean, they're actually looking really healthy, but as I thought, where I've been away and it's raining all week, that is past the end of my finger wet. So I'm going to tip that out, and definitely this week these are going in the ground. Huh. Look at that. That's tomatoes trying to grow. That's how warm it's been. Crazy. Okay, now these trays are starting to be a little bit worse for wear and starting to break, so I need to be a bit careful taking these out of here so they don't snap. With the weight of the water, they are absolutely sodden. Right, let's tip that away. And then I think they can stay there actually. They don't need to go back in there for now. I've been really pleased with this table in here. We only ended up putting it in here because we ran out of compost, and at the time I was a bit disappointed that we didn't have more bed space in here. And I think we will, in the long run, probably go for a bit more bed space in here and move this table perhaps towards the door, or maybe have it in the middle and have a bed either side of it. But it has been a really handy little potting table to have in a outdoor space, but with a little bit of shade, which is helpful for some of the seedlings that you want for winter crops, but when you're planting them in the warmer weather. And I can always do something similar in the polytunnel, although we are hoping also to have a greenhouse, so I'll have a think about that. But this has been an absolute joy to have, so I'm really glad we didn't have enough compost to just put the beds in here, because I wouldn't have thought of it otherwise. Now, in terms of harvesting, we really are kind of on that balance between, presumably there's going to be a frost soon, so we need to get stuff in, but there is quite a lot that still isn't ripe, and a good example of that is the ground cherries. I think I showed you on the last video. Now, I've just found this one, which is papery. I don't think is fully ripe, but I'm going to risk it. Let's see. I don't think it is fully ripe. It's a little bit tart, but I quite like that. And that's my first ground cherry that I've ever grown. So I don't have anything to compare it to be sure, but that is delicious. So I'm really hoping we don't get a frost to kill these off before they fully ripen, because there are tons on this plant, but they're just not quite ripe yet. That's an incredible taste. It's almost tropical. I know I'm late to this party and loads of you grow this stuff and already know. I'm really pleased with that. So we've got plenty of lanterns everywhere, absolutely laden on this plant. Well, there's two plants here, I think, but they're just not yet ripe. So fingers crossed there's enough sun so that all of this growth on this enormous plant isn't wasted. With all the rain we've been having this week, the beds are absolutely springing up with weeds. We've had no weeds in this onion bed, for example, all summer, and now here they all appear. Grass and thistles mostly, as well as, I'm really pleased with those because that means we've got nice healthy soil. So when I come to do the mulching, weeding is also going to be a priority, but as you know, I don't mind a weeding job. Nutrient harvesting, I quite enjoy it. Carrots looking good. Jacob's cattle still not dry on the plant, although I'm not surprised given how wet it's been. I'm really hoping they don't rot before they dry. However, the remainder of these stragontas are now dry, so I can take those at some point this week. And I think what can come out, these have just been hopeless this year. These courgette plants have just come to nothing. They're growing to about that big and then rotting and falling off. We had a couple from these three and a couple of marrows that went to the chooks, but I think they can probably come out now, although they don't look like they're dead yet, so part of me just wants to keep giving them a chance, but I guess at some point I'm going to have to clear some space, because unless I build a new bed for it, at the moment I don't know where I'm going to put that garlic that needs planting, because these beds are all still absolutely full. Maybe it needs a new bed. We'll come back to that. Right, my immediate job this morning is going to be to harvest what's available in the polytunnel. Now, you've seen me do that multiple times, so I won't film that, and I'll come back to you this afternoon when I'm doing something slightly different. So I'm about 3/4 of the way harvesting in here. And a couple of things I've noticed. One, it's really hot, hence the hat and the jacket have come off. I'm getting really warm in here. Second, a number of the tomatoes are starting to get chomped by, I don't know what. I thought it was something on the ground to start with, because it was mostly the tomatoes that were resting on the ground, so I was trying to lift them up, but then I found a load higher up the plants that were also kind of little holes in them. I'm not quite sure what's munching them, but that might force my hand in terms of bringing in what's left if they're all going to start getting eaten anyway. It's only a minority of them at the moment, so I'm leaving it for now, but I'll keep an eye on that over this week. And similarly, those aubergines are still, you can see they're still yellow. They are not ripening, and even the purple ones, like that one there, is still white on the underside, like I showed you in the other video. So although it's really hot in here, they don't seem to be ripening, and a couple of them are getting munched as well. So again, I'm going to give them the very best shot to do well in here, especially as it's looking like it might be quite nice weather this week. But I've just been doing some research, and you can do the banana in a paper bag trick with aubergines. So it might be that if they don't make any progress this week, I will bring them in and do that. And then the other thing I wanted to show you in here is this ground cherry. There's two that I planted in here, and I thought they would do better in here, but actually they've got no lanterns on them at all, and are only just now starting to bud and in a few places flower, like here. So I don't think these are going to come to anything, and I think, as much as I'm trying to give everything a good chance, I think I might take those two out now, along with this basil that's gone to seed, because that will give me this whole end of the bed to plant some overwintering stuff in here, some salad and some brassicas. The tomatillos, on the other hand, are still doing all right, although, as I said in the last week's video, not very large, but they are nice, and I've been making some salsa out of them. So yeah, there's stuff to keep an eye on, I think, in here this week and see. The other thing I've noticed is when I watch gardeners who know what they're doing, which I clearly don't, and they've got their vining tomatoes, and they'll say, I want it to concentrate now on ripening the fruit, so I'm going to top them, and they cut the top off them as though that's it's done and it will stop growing. Well, I think I've topped these about 4 times each now, and they just grow multiple shoots out of where I've topped them from. So clearly I'm doing something very wrong with the topping of tomatoes, because I seem to be, it's like a hydra. Every time I cut its head off, 3 grow back. So I'm going to stop topping them now, I think, unless I'm seeing quite a lot of them are starting to flower. I don't know if you can see, let me show you up close. A lot of them are flowering, and obviously that's not what we want, so I am going to take those flowers off. I've done that here with this final orange banana. But yes, topping doesn't seem to work for me. Maybe I've got the wrong type of tomato to top them, because everyone else seems to cut the top off, and then Charles Dowding, for example, cuts the top off and then his tomatoes ripen beautifully and he doesn't have any more stuff growing out the top. Well, we can only aspire to be like Charles, hey? The other thing decision I've made, as I've been going through, is I've got 4 chilli plants in here still, 2 rainbow chilies and 2 prairie fires. I've got so many chilies dried, so many chilies preserved. I don't need any more this year, and although they are still growing well, I'm going to just take these down and put them in the compost, because they won't get eaten, and again it will clear me up some space for other things in here. So nearly done in here. I've now got to go and do some life admin stuff, but I'll come back to you this afternoon with some other jobs. See you then. Some of the aubergines were also doing their very best to flower, so they've had a good trim back. I've been a bit brutal with them and just left the aubergines that need to ripen. I also revealed a couple of aubergines and cutting other things back that are lovely and ripe. This one has got some damage on this side, look. But there's at least half of a perfectly good aubergine there, so I'll chop that up to go in some sauce, along with the diamond one there. I think these are the bat beaties, and that's a diamond one, that slightly elongated one. Quite a few tomatoes, a couple of peppers, and a watermelon. The ground cherries are out, it's giving me a lovely big space there. The peppers are out. I'm just going to clear up all this detritus and then head off. So, after confidently stating this morning that we were having lovely weather all week, I took little miss to work at lunchtime, and as I drove back, the clouds rolled in and the heavens have opened and it's absolutely pouring. So that's put paid to what I was planning to do this afternoon. So instead I am going to grab my trusty notebook and my box of seeds, and I'm going to go through what we've got, add in my saved seeds, plus this amazing selection of seeds sent to me by the lovely Ali from My Rusty Garden, and figure out what I need to buy and pop in a seed order. So I'll just very briefly remind you how my seed system works, and then I'll leave you for the day because you don't want to watch me sorting through seeds. Let me show you how this works. So it's certainly not the most attractive way of storing seeds, but it works for me. So I have this box divided up by month, and behind each month card are the seeds that I would plant in that month. And then if they are seeds that would be succession sown, I move them from the month I've planted them in, either further back in that month if I'm going to sow them again later that month, or into the next month if I want to sow them. So from here, for example, I might sow these in February and then again in March. So I keep moving the packets back through the months. What that does mean though is by the end of the season, I do sometimes have some seeds back here that need to jump forward again to when you first start sowing them. And then the other little trick that I would recommend is when I empty a pack of seeds, I don't throw it away, I pop it in the back here, and then I sort through that and decide whether these are seeds that I would like to buy again, or if I've saved seed, then I might reuse the pack so that I've got the instructions. So that's a really good record of, in this pack back here, what I've planted, that I can go through and decide what I need to order. Now, as you can see, I've still got absolutely tons of seeds in my stash. I also have these seeds that I have saved. These are my tomatoes and my beans. Now I do have, as you know, all of the beans in jars, but for 2 reasons. One, in case I forget that I want to use some of them as seed for growing next year and cook with them all. And 2, just as likely, if I forget they're in the cupboard and don't sow them when it comes to the sowing season, for each of them I have made up a pack of seeds as well. So I've got those as standbys should I use up all the ones in the cupboard, but more as a reminder to get the jars out of the cupboard and plant the seeds at the right time. And then to add into my stash, I have got this lovely card from Ali with, can I do this one-handed? Yes, I can. With all of these amazing seeds that she has sent me. Thank you so much again, Ali, because these are fabulous. Peppers and tomatoes and bush beans and beef beans and vining nasturtium and pole beans. So many seeds to add into my pack. So I might need to do a little bit of research to know which month I'm going to sow them in. But this is all going to be added in. And the other thing I've got, and I can't remember whether I showed you this or not, but this is the fantastic, huge amount of, look, really big. That's a 1 litre pot, I think. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's the litre pot, absolutely full to the brim of field beans with a few broad beans thrown in, but mostly field beans, and they are all those beans that I saved from the cover crop that we had out. I'm going to use these as cover crop again this year. I might cook some. I've seen a fantastic recipe for turning these into crispy, salty snacks, so I might also do that. But the majority I'm going to use as my cover crop this year. So these will be going out soon. So that's the other thing I need to do, is sort out, other than these, what other seeds have I got in here that are still to be planted, because we are, as much as we are looking at pouring rain, we are still in sowing season for some things. So I will dig out anything else. For example, I'll probably direct sow some kale in the polytunnel. I've already got some purple sprouting going, maybe some pak choi, definitely swede, definitely more beetroot. So there's a few things that I want to plant out in the polytunnel for winter crops, which I will also sort out. So that's me for the rest of the day. I don't think I'm going to need to buy too many seeds. But why don't you have a guess in the comments how much I spend anyway ordering my next lot of seeds, and I'll tell you in the next video and you can see if you're right. Thanks for joining me today. I'm hoping to get another video out to you tomorrow. If this week goes the way I hope it will. So I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, I just had to come back and show you this because I've just opened Ali's pack of tomato seeds that she sent me. And look at all the varieties of tomatoes. Ali, this is so generous, and oh my goodness, I don't think I'm ever going to have to buy tomatoes ever again. So we've got so many different varieties to choose from. I don't know how I'm going to choose, but how exciting. I can try different varieties next year and save some for the year after. And also, I just wanted to say, this made me laugh because look what I've also got in my pack. We all do it. Wow. So I am going to have a tomato feast next year. That is incredible.